I've been asked many times to show my perfume collection. The thing is that unlike most perfume bloggers, I don't really have a collection. Most of the time I have discovery sets or samples, and if I like a fragrance, I might be just obsessed with it for a very short period of time, and when the sample is over, I just move on and I don't think about it again. So when I decide to purchase a full-size bottle, it means that I'm really obsessed with it, that I see loving it for years and years and years. Or I might decide to buy a fragrance that I'm obsessed with, even if I'm not sure that I'm gonna like it for a long time, but the fragrance has been discontinued and I know that it will be difficult to find it later. Nonetheless, today I decided to make a video of some of the fragrances that I really love. Some of them I have in full-size bottles, some of them I don't at the moment, but I'm considering repurchasing them. I would like to start with a brand that is called Thierry de Gunzburg. If you are in the perfume world, you surely know Thierry de Gunzburg. This lady was working for Yves Saint Laurent for quite a time, and then she established her own brand that was called Thierry de Gunzburg. Today it's known under the name By Thierry. Unfortunately, their perfume line was discontinued. And this is so sad to me because there are not so many brands that have the level of craftsmanship that is comparable to Thierry de Gunzburg. I think what went wrong is that their marketing strategy was not aggressive enough because the world of perfumes is very, very competitive. And if you come to the market with a new name, it's really hard to establish yourself, to market yourself. And there are brands of quality that they just did not succeed putting themselves out there. And I think the perfumes are really amazing, but unfortunately they have been discontinued. So the fragrance that is my very favorite love of all times, I don't have fragrance obsessions of this level for that long period of time. So Flagrant Délice is a fig fragrance with almond milk. It's sweet, but not overly sweet. It lasts really long. For me, this is just perfect from every aspect. There's not a single little thing that is bad in this fragrance. It's just my forever favorite. I generally have so much admiration for this perfume line because each perfume is really unique. Each perfume is really, really beautiful. Flagrant Délice is on the top of my list, but I do love others. I did have them at one point or the other. Another fragrance that I still have is called Rêve Opulent, Opulent Dream. Beautiful name, isn't it? It's kind of hard to describe it. It has everything in here, but very well dosed. Like it's sweet, but not overly sweet. It's floral, but not cloying. Overall, I would say that this is a really amazing, beautiful white floral bouquet that is best for ladies in their 30s and 40s. There are some notes in the pyramid that I'm not necessarily a big fan, like roses, ylang ylang, orange blossom. These are the notes that I usually don't like so much. But the thing is that here I barely feel them because they're really well blended and I still love this perfume a lot. So don't look at the individual notes because the perfume is just a beautiful and a unique blend. Rêve Opulent is not as high on my list as Flagrant Délice, but I still love it. I still like having it in my collection. The next brand that I would like to speak about is Ormonde Jayne. This is a British brand from London. It was founded by a lady called Linda Pilkington. She brings classical French traditions of perfumeries into her creations. I really liked that idea of not forgetting the old ways, and I really love a lot of her creations. You can actually find a review of some of the fragrances on my YouTube. But today I will speak about my favorite ones. So my very, very top favorite is called Levant. Unfortunately, I don't have the full bottle. I did buy it once upon a time, but then I decided to give my preference to Fleur Narcotique by Ex Nihilo. That is also a beautiful fragrance, totally worth a full bottle. They are similar but different in many ways. So at one point I decided to sell my full bottle of Levant and I was using Fleur Narcotique. Then Ormonde Jayne decided to reformulate their fragrances, and I don't like Levant that they have right now. So I'm kind of searching for a full bottle at a good price. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to find because Levant is the best seller, is the most famous fragrance. It's probably one of the best peony fragrances that I know. What happened is that during the reformulation of their fragrances, Ormonde Jayne decided to jump on a train of modern ambers. If you don't know how I feel about modern ambers, I invite you to watch the video on my YouTube channel that is called I Hate Modern Ambers. What happened basically, for my nose, is the entire collection replaced some of the ingredients, and now I catch this Ambroxan, Ambroxan, Ambro Super, I don't know what else they are called. And I just hate these elements, and I hate to find them in Ormonde Jayne. So luckily, I still have some fragrances as old versions. And another one that I absolutely love is called Bison. This one is 50 ml. I was lucky to find it in the old version. New bottles, they look a little bit different. When I smelled the fragrance, it brought the memories of a bazaar from Central Asia. To me, it smells like dried fruits, dried apricots, dried plums. If you have that experience of seeing the stand with dried fruits and nuts, this is how it smelled to me. But then when I read the pyramid, I saw that this is a mix of milk and the leaves of blackcurrant. And I was like, wow, this is it. This is how it smells. Blackcurrant leaves and milk. This is such a unique combination. I love it. I loved it from the first time, and I still love it many years after. While we see these notes on the top of the pyramid, I could say that these notes last pretty much throughout the fragrance. I see very often this fragrance to be mentioned as one of the best leather and suede fragrances. Yes, I do feel suede in here, but it is so smooth, so nice, like very delicate, mixed with iris, and this is how I see this base of the old version of Bison's. And as I mentioned, the new version I really dislike because the modern ambers dominate the base, and to me they just destroy the fragrance. So I'm very happy to have this old version. Another fragrance where sometimes I catch some smooth leather is called Noir Exquis by L'Artisan Parfumeur. Overall, I really love this brand, and this fragrance is probably another obsession of mine that has been lasting for years. There were times when I resold the bottle and then I went back to it. Now I have a full size and I don't have to worry about it because the fragrance was also reformulated. I have an old version. I'm loving it. I wear it quite a bit. The fragrance does not have leather or suede in the pyramid, but there is something between green galbanum and heliotrope that makes me think of leather sometimes. But overall, the fragrance is not about that. This is more of a gourmand perfume. The notes that dominate in this fragrance are actually maple syrup and chestnuts. This is again a combination that is so beautiful, so unique. And then there are some notes that are like tea and coffee and vanilla. There's some sweetness in here, some woodiness. I can describe it in so many ways, and there's a chance that people might catch different notes in here. But this is a fragrance that is complex, well-balanced, and just nicely presented as a whole composition. And this is the style of fragrances that I really appreciate. This is where I find the real craftsmanship. Overall, I have a lot of admiration for the brand L'Artisan Parfumeur. They have a lot of fragrances that I like and I use occasionally. Sometimes I have miniatures, sometimes I have samples. But in this video, when I speak about full bottles worthy fragrances, I have to mention another one that I currently don't have in my collection, but I think I should go back to the full bottle again. It's called Première Figuier. And a lot of bloggers speak about this fragrance. If you read the opinions, everybody says different things. Some people say it's green, some people say it's more like a milky fig. I live on the French Mediterranean, and this fragrance to me smells like standing under the fig tree. It really smells like that real life experience. And that's why I love it so much. When people say there's a coconut in here, yes, it's a kind of fig that goes on the coconutty side. but it's not like a coconut lotion or a cheap coconut spray. That coconut note is mostly coming from the sweetness that is somewhere between the lines, not really a dominant note. And Première Figuier is probably one of my favorite fragrances for the summer. It's really light, airy, fresh, and you cannot overspray it. If you're hot, if you're going out in a hot summer day, you can really spray it as much as you can and you will not smell too much. Another favorite of mine for summertime that I have in a full bottle is called Be Balenciaga Intense. Honestly, I don't know why it's called intense, because the fragrance is actually super delicate. There is nothing intense about it. There is the original Be Balenciaga, but I find the intense version much more interesting. And the reason why I love having it is because it's really refreshing. It's really beautiful. I would probably describe it as the best blueberry perfume. The pyramid is pretty unique. You do smell blueberry. The rest of the notes are kind of difficult to understand how they smell, how they interact with blueberry. I say it's full bottle worthy because this is a fragrance that does not go bad. It's a very old edition, and believe it or not, it still smells the same. It does not move. One of my biggest prides in the collection is Storie Veneziane by Valmont. This one is the full collection of the brand, with the exception of some new fragrances that came out in the recent years. I would say that every single fragrance from this brand is worth a bottle. I don't have them in full bottle, but I have them in this trilogy collection. This one is Eau de Toilette. Then they have a collection of Eau de Parfum. And my favorite one that is really top quality is called Storie Veneziane. These ones are Extrait de Parfum that are super expensive, and they come in bottles that are handcrafted. Well, this is how it looks inside. You see that each fragrance has only 3 notes, and they really do smell like these 3 notes. And this is something unique about Valmont, and that's probably the reason why I have not spoken so much about this brand, because what you see is what you really get. And these 5 fragrances are really my obsessions. The only fragrance from Valmont that I have in a full bottle is called Casanova 2161. This is actually a second bottle, still sealed, and this is the bottle that I have already used. It comes from the collection of Eau de Toilette, which is affordable because they come in simple bottles, because the concentration of perfume is lower. It's mostly iris mixed with black pepper. I call this type of fragrances a French shower, and it's probably the fragrance I use the most during the summer. Overall, iris is the note that is probably among my top 3 favorite notes. I go through a lot of iris samples, but I'm not always happy about my irises. Another iris that I have that is worth a full bottle, Iris by Chloe. The collection Atelier de Fleurs came out some years ago with mono floral fragrances. This one is iris, and of course it was the first one I really wanted to try. The thing is that this iris does not have anything from orris, from an actual iris flower. That's why it's actually pretty cheap. The perfumer did a really good job imitating the smell of the actual iris flower, which is totally different from orris roots. The fragrance is light, airy, that you can really overspray. It's amazing for summertime. It has a bit of greenness, a bit of milkiness, really beautiful. Another iris fragrance that I have in full format is called Bois d'Iris by Van Cleef & Arpels. I would not call it an iris fragrance because iris here evaporates very quickly. When you spray it, you just get that earthy orris, very woody. And then it goes away very quickly. And what you're left with is very nice woods that are created mostly by vetiver and Ambroxan. Usually these would not be my favorite notes, but somehow all this works really well in Bois d'Iris. It's probably my favorite fragrance in the woody category, and it's probably among my favorite fragrances for men. My relationship with Ambroxan is probably better compared to other modern ambers. Some fragrances with Ambroxan work better for me than others. At one point, I was obsessed with Baccarat Rouge. Who wasn't at that time, right? I have a full video about it, so I would take you back to that video if you have not seen it yet. Ambroxan is probably the main ingredient for so-called skin perfumes. And skin perfumes, they go in different levels of intensity for me. For example, I would not buy skin fragrances that are at the level of intensity 1 or 2. It just makes no sense to me to spray something that you don't even feel. But I would go for some fragrances that are at the level of 3 and 4. Something that is very delicate and something that I already feel. And in this category, my favorite fragrance that I think is full bottle worthy is Mojave Ghost by Byredo. The reason I prefer Mojave Ghost over many other Ambroxan fragrances is I don't really feel that Ambroxan so much. In the case of Mojave Ghost, I really feel that beautiful, delicate magnolia over that Ambroxan woody base. But I cannot say that Mojave Ghost is absolutely unique. There are many other fragrances in the same category. Today, for example, I tried a fragrance called White Rice by Danam. And it is so praised by YouTubers and Instagrammers. And it somewhat reminded me of Mojave Ghost. Both have the same level of intensity and somewhat similar style. But in case of White Rice, I really feel that Ambroxan that disturbs me. And it is not the case of Mojave Ghost. Another thing is that I think Mojave Ghost is much better composed because it does not have that unnecessary sweetness. Because the easiest way to tone down that Ambroxan is to use some vanilla, sugar, some sweet lactones. And this is the case of White Rice and it is not the case of Mojave Ghost. So my preference goes to Mojave Ghost. But Mojave Ghost that you find now in stores and on their website is Mojave Ghost made in Spain. Those who have been using Mojave Ghost for years, they did feel the difference switching to Mojave Ghost made in Spain. And I like the French version much more. That's why I got myself a full bottle in the fear that this one would be very difficult to find very soon. I'm very picky about my iris fragrances and I'm even more picky about my oud fragrances. Most of oud fragrances that were released in the last years are big hates for me because they just use modern ambers to imitate oud and they don't do a good job most of the time. I will speak about some fragrances that I find full bottle worthy. One of them is called Oud Nude by Guerlain. This is a classic and a lot of perfume bloggers speak about it. I don't have it in a full size. I don't think I need it in full size, but I think it's really a nice fragrance to have in anyone's collection. It's not really oud fragrance. There is oud in here, but there's a very little oud. So that's why I like layering it with my oud from Valmont. Nonetheless, I really enjoy Oud Nude. And for me, this one is more cherry raspberry kind of perfume. I feel some rose in here as well, but it's more on the fruity side. It's just so beautiful. It's femininity in a bottle. Sweet femininity, luxurious femininity. It's not so easy to make raspberry cherry and to have a fragrance that doesn't sound cheap. And I think Guerlain did a really good job. That's why it's actually so popular. And I think it is full bottle worthy, despite that I only have a miniature. The oud perfume that I have in a 100 ml format, very, very rare for me, is coming from the Bulgari Le Gem collection, and it's called Ormonde. When I smelled it, it was love at first sniff. And love is probably not even enough to describe how much I was obsessed with this fragrance. Obsessed to the point that I got 100 ml. The bottle is beautiful, but the scent is even more beautiful. This is Assam tea, oud, and vanilla mixed together to perfection. And Bulgari is blending fragrances to perfection. I wish I had the full collection Le Gem in the format of 10 ml, like the same I have of Valmont. Unfortunately, I don't yet, maybe. But I do enjoy my Ormonde. Ormonde is a fragrance that I personally love a lot, and I love it even more on gentlemen. When I smell it on men, it's just so great. You just want to go into it. You just want to dive into it. The next fragrance that I will speak about is probably more appropriate for gentlemen, and I don't wear it as much. Not only I'm obsessed by the way vanilla sounds in here, this is probably the best vanilla fragrance, but I'm also obsessed how leather sounds in here. And this is a fragrance by Memo. They have several leather fragrances in their collection, but Italian leather is something that just captivates me. I love it on gentlemen more than I love on myself, but sometimes I do wear it as well. It's just beautiful. It really is the best leather and the best vanilla combined together. Totally full bottle worthy. Another fragrance that is known but not so easy to find is called Baiser Volé by Cartier. I have recently added to my collection because I was searching for it for quite a while. To find it at a decent price is not so easy. So I got a 10 ml. This Baiser Volé is not the usual Baiser Volé that you will smell in Sephora right now. This one is Essence de Parfum. I generally associate the collection Baiser Volé with the Parisians. For me, it's really a Parisian woman kind of fragrance. The DNA of Baiser Volé, that is translated as a stolen kiss, is recognizable. Some people associate lilies with the funerals, and if you think about it, that's probably the best, the perfect fragrance for funerals. When I wear it, I don't think about funerals because I do love lilies, especially complemented with this vanilla that is more of a old-fashioned ambery vanilla, yet not too heavy and not vintage-like. When you smell it in the air, you catch some powdery notes. These powdery notes, they don't smell like powdery notes of modern fragrances. They smell more like luxurious cosmetics. That unique vanilla, that is a creation on its own. It's really a beautiful creation by Cartier that I did not find in any other fragrances, any other brands. So that vanilla itself adds a kind of warm touch. If other Baiser Volé, they are gray Parisian weather, this Baiser Volé is a more warmer, sunny kind of Paris for me. And the last collection that I would like to speak about that deserves purchasing a full bottle is a collection from Guerlain called L'Art et la Matière. Unfortunately, I don't have them in full size. These are extraits de parfum. And the ones that I decided to keep are vanilla, iris, and tonka. These are my three favorites. I cannot say I use them a lot because I don't want to finish them. In this case, I would be forced to purchase a full bottle, which is, I think, $500 or $600 right now. Especially this collection would be great for those people who love Shalimar. Shalimar is the classic fragrance by Guerlain that released several flankers in several consecutive years. That was Shalimar Iris, Shalimar Tonka, Shalimar Bergamote. If you have the classical Shalimar, you can just spray this extrait de parfum over and you don't need to buy all the flankers of Shalimar. I rarely purchase designer fragrances just because they are too much out there, just because they're very recognizable. And I don't like spraying something on me knowing that every other person will have the same fragrance. So my collection of designer fragrances is not very big, but I do have some cheapies that I have been loving for years. And one of them is Viva la Juicy by Juicy Couture. I loved it when I was young, and then at one point I decided to go back to it. I realized that it was reformulated and they made it much lighter. The element that I like about Juicy Couture is not so much the floral part, which I think is perfectly done, but mostly the sandalwood that is caramelized and wrapped in that floral aura. Unfortunately, I did not find it in the new formula, so I had to hunt for the old formula, and now it does not leave my collection. There are many other fragrances that are more expensive, but they are not as good as Viva la Juicy Couture. The fragrances that I'm talking about are Gardenia by Gucci and Grand Balo by Xerjov. Grand Balo specifically is very expensive, and some people say that this is a more of an adult version of Juicy Couture. That is absolutely not true. I compared them side by side, and Viva la Juicy wins on all different parameters. So despite its tacky packaging, the fragrance itself is quality. It has not gone bad in years, and it's just so beautiful for many, many occasions. Another cheapie that I think is worth a full bottle, especially considering the price, is by Ariana Grande, and it's called Maude Vanilla. I really hate this bottle, really. I keep dropping it all the time, but the perfume itself is such an easy reach. I would not compare it to Baccarat Rouge, because Baccarat Rouge is something from totally another world, but Maude Vanilla acts a bit like Baccarat Rouge. It's very delicate on your skin, but it projects like everywhere, and it has a super long lasting power. It's very easy, very likable. In fact, it has the highest rating on Fragrantica out of all vanilla. You know, I often complain about Ambroxan, and I really dislike modern amber masks most of the time. I do feel it in here, but really, really tiny bit, like in Baccarat Rouge. It doesn't destroy the perfume for me. Meanwhile, don't have high hopes for the notes that are listed. You wouldn't get any orris or plum in here. It's just sugary vanilla with some generic floral undertones. I think this will be it for today's video about full bottle worthy perfumes. I don't have a feeling of satisfaction because I think there are so many more perfumes that I would like to mention here. It's just I don't have the full bottles because I have either sold them or because I have not bought them yet. As I said, my collection fluctuates and rotates quite a lot. I also have some designer fragrances that I have purchased because designers are reformulating their fragrances, and there are some fragrances that I love as old versions, so I purchased them to make sure that I have them in old versions the way I like. Most of these fragrances have passed the peak of their popularity. I might speak about them in a separate video, or maybe not, we'll see.